uxwbill's mom here, and we are cooking up a storm today. In fact, I think I need a chef hat. And we have cooked and canned all day today. We've got corn relish in the canner that needs to come out. We've got dill pickles. We've got mint jelly. We've got applesauce. And we've got a peach kuchen in the oven. Should we go look at that, William?
Let's go take a look.
Let's go see how the peach kuchen is looking. And while you're doing that, I think I'll get the corn relish out of the canner. All right, here we have the peach kuchen. And doesn't that look yummy? With a custard topping. All righty. Now, what we're going to do here is get the canning tongs, and they are right over here. And we'll pull out a cutting board. And what we've got that's ready to come out of the canner today is some lovely corn relish. And there went the pop on the lid. Alright, we've got one in a very old blue mason jar from my grandmother, and the rest are in regular pint jars. So we have 4 pints of corn relish, and there's some more in the refrigerator that didn't quite fill the jar. Doesn't that look yummy? Boy, that'll be good on a hot dog. Alrighty. So, got that all processed according to USDA recommendations. So we'll let that cool. And the last thing that we're going to make today is some bananas. What do you do when your bananas get overripe? You make banana bread. We make a rather unusual banana bread that's real tasty, and we're going to have to run to the store real quick and get a few of the things that we need. In the meantime, we will prepare our floured pan here, and then uxwbill and I, there we go, uxwbill and I are going to go to the store. So, let's go to the store and get what we need, okay?
Alright, we're on our way back home from the grocery store, UXW Mom and myself. Oh, hush it. Soon to be making some very yummy banana bread. Now, you know, at this particular point, I could just stop making the video because that would be the easy thing to do and say, nuts to you. Wow, that was bad.
We're back, and I'd just like to show a little recognition. I'm getting a lot of my recipes today out of this particular cookbook. This was from my grandmother, and the date on it is 1949. So the recipes are very vintage. So if there's anybody up in West Bend, Wisconsin that is a member of the St. John Evangelical Lutheran Church, a big shout out to you up there in West Bend, Wisconsin. Great cookbook, and I really treasure it. All right. Now, today we're going to be making a banana bread recipe that's actually not in that cookbook. So I'd like to also give a tribute to the person who shared this recipe with me. About 30 years ago, a friend of mine, Mary, from St. Paul, Minnesota, shared this special banana bread recipe with me. So a shout out to Mary. I still like that banana bread. It's just as good as the recipe you shared 30 years ago. So in just a minute we're going to take our peach kuchen out of the oven, and then we'll show you how to make Mary's special banana bread. Alright, we're ready to take our kuchen out of the oven. A lovely fresh peach kuchen. And for those of you who have never heard of kuchen, it's German for cake. So again, thanks to the St. John Lutheran Church for this wonderful recipe. And Looks good to me. Okay, I think I don't know, might give it a little more time. Might put that back in. Give it a little more time. Give it 5 more minutes. What makes this banana bread so special is that the ingredients are a little bit unusual. So we're going to start with some ripe bananas, and these are just perfect. And I learned the hard way to not use an electric mixer when you're working with bananas. I didn't know this, but bananas are actually part of the latex family, and if you beat the heck out of them in your mixer, you will actually get some very rubbery banana bread, which is not desirable. And I could never figure out what was going wrong. And then I read that somewhere, so now I make all my banana bread just by gently stirring it by hand. So I've got 5 bananas here. At least I think there were 5. I thought there were 4, but I guess there's 5. So 5 bananas, so we'll double the recipe. And we've got 2 loaf pans prepped up here that have been buttered and floured. And if you want to guarantee that it'll release from the pan, you can also always line the pan with parchment paper. Alright, so here's my bananas right here, and the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take a fork to them and I'm just going to get them mashed.
You're going to fork them up pretty good.
Yep. And I'm not interested in liquefying them because remember, I don't want my bananas to turn into latex. So we're just going to mash them a little bit. And I guess because of the quantity of bananas here, I actually could get the potato masher. That would cover a little more area and get the job done a little quicker. But it doesn't take long to mash up some bananas. Alright, so here we've got our 5 mashed bananas, and we've just been working them a little bit with a fork. Careful not to overdo it. It's a little bit lumpy. So you're going to start to make this special banana bread 5 mashed bananas, just mashed with a fork. Alright, next thing I've got here is 2/3 of a cup of melted butter. Alright, 2/3 of a cup, and we're using real butter here. Alright, so we're going to pour 2/3 of a cup of melted butter into our banana mixture. Okay, and we'll just work that around a little bit. Now we want 1½ cups of sugar. And it doesn't matter if you use white sugar or brown sugar. And we've got white granulated sugar right here, so that's what we'll use. Alright, 1½ cups of granulated sugar. Okay, and if I wanted to, I could use part white sugar and part brown sugar. I've never tried it with Splenda, so I can't give you any kind of a recommendation on that. Okay, I've got a spoon here that I can just gently fold these things together.
A little excess escape there.
Yeah, well, that's fine. So I'm just going to incorporate the melted butter and the sugar with the bananas. Now I'm going to put in 2 teaspoons of vanilla, and I would recommend you use real vanilla. If you're going to go to the trouble to make something homemade, you shouldn't skimp and use imitation or artificial ingredients. So we've got real vanilla here, 2 teaspoons of real vanilla, and we'll recycle our little plastic bottle. All right. Now we're going to need 2 eggs. 1, 2. And these are, we'll get the green pepper out of there. These are regular, large eggs. Always a good idea to crack your egg in a separate cup. We'll save our eggshell to compost in the garden.
That way, if you get a bad egg, you don't ruin your whole recipe.
That's right. I'm going to take my fork and I'm going to lightly whisk these. That breaks up the yolk.
And that's no yolk.
2 eggs. All right. And we're going to pour that right in there too. Okay. Alrighty, we're doing a lot of dishes here. Okay, we're going to incorporate that. Let's see. Alright. I'm going to need some baking soda, and I forgot to get that out. I need 2 teaspoons of baking soda, bicarbonate of soda. Okay. There we go. Always use a level measure, so I leveled that off with the box. Okay. So we're going to incorporate this in here. Just kind of mix it. We need 3 cups of flour. To get an accurate measure with flour, you always want to cut it and level it. Okay. We need to do this 6 times because this is a ½ cup measure. We need 3 cups of flour. That's 1, 1½ 2, 2½, 3. And this is just regular all-purpose flour, which we'll put the lid on it. It's always good to store flour in an airtight container like this large Tupperware container, because then it can't ever get buggy. Alright, so you might be saying, well, that doesn't really look too unusual. Looks like a pretty standard banana bread recipe. What is she going to do that's going to make this unusual? Well, the first thing I want to do is incorporate this flour. Get it stirred in. It's really not that hard to stir it by hand. Mixers do have a tendency to spoil us, but we can make this very nicely just by hand. It's supposed to be lumpy, it's supposed to be incorporated. Alright, so you can see that that flour is almost all incorporated. Now, I could pour it in pans right now and bake it off, and it would be a very nice banana bread. But this is what I'm going to do to make it unusual. I have a small package of walnuts. Now I know some people don't like nuts, but the nuts really do give it just a little more flavor. Okay? And you could use walnuts or pecans, it makes no difference. Alright, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some milk chocolate chips. Okay, how many will I add? Well, let's see. It's a 11.5 ounce bag of chocolate chips, and I think I'll put about half the bag in.
Put some on the floor too.
Yeah, okay. So we got about half the bag in there, and it looks like that so far. Okay, so we can save those for something else. And the last thing that I'm going to put in here is some maraschino cherries. Alright. Now, because they're kind of big, I'm going to cut them into pieces. And I don't have too many. Looks like I have about 5 or 6 cherries in the jar. Okay, then we can recycle that glass jar. Now, what does this do to the banana bread? Well, kind of makes it taste like a banana split. Makes it a little sweeter. Makes it, oh, just makes it fun and pretty when you slice it. You get some little red bits. Come on, you cherry, you. You're slippery little devils. All right. All right.
Where there's a measuring cup, there's a way.
That's right. Okay, so you might call this, instead of calling it banana bread, maybe you would call it banana split bread. It's got all the ingredients for banana split. All right. And there are the chocolate chips. And if you don't want to use milk chocolate chips, you can always use the semi-sweet ones. I've never tried butterscotch ones or anything like that, but you could certainly experiment and put your own spin on this recipe. All right. So I'm going to just lightly stir it with this big spoon so that everything is incorporated. And if I was a chef on TV, I'd probably have some little helper scurrying along and getting rid of all these dirty dishes, which have a tendency to kind of build up. We've made a big mess in this kitchen. But anyway, we can clean it, so we're not having company. We don't need to worry. All right, I guess that we wouldn't need to worry anyway. Okay, I'm looking for a spatula. All right, so now we've got 2 pans that we've prepared by buttering and flouring them. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to divide this mixture between these 2 pans. Now if I wanted to be real exact, I could always use a cup or a ladle.
You could use a scale too.
But I don't need to be that exact. This is home cooking. So. Alright, I think we'll give the rest to this guy over here. And this freezes very nicely, so you can make it ahead and put it in the freezer, and then if a special occasion would happen to come up, you can just get it right out of the freezer. Alrighty, so I think our bowl is scraped pretty clean. I might try to get that little, just that little extra little bit. There we go. So now we have 2 pans, and they're not real big loaf pans. I don't know what the measurements of them are, but these should rise and make a really nice crown on the top, and it bakes for about an hour at 350. I always test it by stabbing a knife in it to see if it comes out clean. If it comes out clean, it's done. If it comes out a little bit sticking to the blade, you know it needs a little more time. Alright, let's bake this banana bread, and gee, maybe I could go take a nap and uxwbill would do all the dishes. Okay, banana bread in the oven you go, bake up. Alrighty, and here's our kuchen. Doesn't that look tasty? Yes, it does. Alright, we're done. Time to do dishes. Timer went off on the oven. Let's see what we've got. Oh, I think I need another hot pad.
Let's make sure you don't have 2 left hands this time.
No, I need one for each hand. Alright. Now, I will test it for doneness. Oh, look how beautiful. Alright, it's not done. They need a little more time. Clean. And here you have it, 2 lovely loaves of banana bread with nuts, chocolate chips, and maraschino cherries. Very tasty. Let's see how they come out of the loaf pan. It's always a disaster if it sticks and breaks. Oh, look, another hot pad. All right.
Well, we got one that came out of there pretty much cleanly. Let's see if the other one does.
Well, the other one's a little hot. Okay, we have one little spot that's stuck here. We'll have to taste that. Now, if it's a problem with sticking, I would say line the bottom of the pan, or the bottom and the sides, with parchment paper. Then it will not stick. Tasty. Okay, the sides are loose. This is a little hot. Not that hot. Ta-da! Perfect. Lovely.